So you simply divide all the debt as a proxy for all the money that's been created by all the gold that exists, including all the gold that's in the ground. That gives you the true fundamental value of 1 ounce of gold. So that puts it at somewhere in the vicinity of $40,000 an ounce. So at 3,300, at 3,500, at 10,000, at 20,000, at 30,000, at 39,000. Gold is undervalued. Wow. The markets are starting to get used to the uncertainty. I would say that that's mostly what has changed since January, is the markets just absorbing the very rapid pace that things are coming at it from a whole bunch of different angles, and they're getting calmer, a bit calmer about it. But lots of other things have changed too. Yes and no. Yes, we're definitely in the deal-making phase of this, but I think there's still a lot more shock and awe to come in, because I think that's the methodology to get more of what we want. So I don't think we're done with the shock and awe. I think the markets are more getting used to it over the last couple of days, because he'll say like 50% tariffs on the EU, and then he backs off and delays. And so the markets are seeing that he goes in and charges, President Trump goes in and charges hard with asking for lots of things and making tons and tons of demands, and then he backs off. And I think the markets are getting used to that. Well, I actually think it's a very fair assessment, so kudos to you, Kai. But I can also see, because of the ego around it, that a lot of mistakes can be made. And quite honestly, I would not sit here and say without a doubt that first 100 days didn't already trigger something that we're just not aware of yet. Well, I really attribute what's happening in gold to the realization that it is the only true safe haven asset. I mean, what were named safe haven assets? The dollar, and we're watching the world, because the world doesn't know what President Trump is going to do. So they've lost a lot of that confidence, and that's a huge problem, because what you've got is the world turning away from all the debt that the U.S. has to issue, and yet that's the foundation of the global markets, which is kind of why I said I'm not sure that we haven't already triggered a crisis and it's just not visible to us yet. I think the realization on a global basis that gold is first of all, it is the only financial asset that runs no counterparty risk. But when you're in a sea of discord and confusion and back and forth, well, those typical safe haven assets just don't work. And so gold is again being elevated on the financial stage where it should be, where it absolutely has been for thousands and thousands of years. And I think it's that recognition and that acknowledgement, because global central banks surely have not slowed down their buying of gold. They've slowed down their buying of treasury debt, but they have not slowed down their buying of gold. And that puts us in actually an even more precarious position, because again, if the 10-year treasury is what the foundation of the global financial system is, and we're losing support for that system, the volatility was one thing, right? And that's a key thing. You can't tell me that something might not have gotten broken, because that makes absolutely no sense at all, especially in the derivatives world, which is so opaque. We have no clue. We see a little itty bitty tip of the iceberg, but it's what's underneath that tip that we see. It's what we can't see. That's what's dangerous. And I see developing this consistent doom loop, right? If the treasury underpins the markets and that's eroding the global markets and that's eroding, well, when's it going to collapse? And that's what nobody knows. Yeah. Oh, wow. Well, yeah, actually, that makes a lot of sense. And it goes back to my point about the world starting to recognize gold as a safe haven asset. And so really, this is a con game. And it requires two key things. It requires confidence. That's the most important thing. But it also requires new money, right? Those two things. So, yeah, gold's rise would threaten the current money, the central bank guided money system, where they are dictating, well, at least the nominal value, while they're at the same time manipulating the purchasing power value, which is really what matters to you and me. You know, everybody knows my $10 trillion Zimbabwe note, and I can't buy eggs with it. So it makes absolute sense, because the higher that gold goes, the more eyes are on it, the more participation you get. So, yeah, is the world really starting to switch to a gold standard again? Maybe so.